Hey, after a not so great Volume 1, we now get a really good Volume 2, Sandman, The Doll's House, which collects issues 9 to 16 of the Sandman series. It starts with a really nice story uh, about the impossible love between Morpheus and Nada, has been told by this old African tribesman to his young nephew as part of a manwood passage ritual. Um, so this is a narrative inside a narrative. It's a double narrative, and Gaiman and Dringenberg adapt a clever scheme in which the bottom panels of each page are dedicated to the narrator, to the African tribesman, which is a very effective way to tell this story, grounding the main story being told, but keeping the reader focused on both narratives. And um, I really like Dringenberg's art in here. It looks so modern. It could be a comic being made today in 2017. I think this is Dringenberg's best work I've ever seen. And this was exactly what I needed as a as the reader, um, to excite me to what comes next and to work a bit as a breaking point in relation to volume 1. Then on the next issue we enter on the main storyline of uh, the Doll's House. We meet Desire, one of Morpheus' siblings, and also Despair, but the main character is Rose Walker, a young lady with 20 years old, um, who is unknowingly and willingly a dream vortex. And a dream vortex is a strange anomaly that happens once in a while and that Morpheus must resolve. Um, and this is the story of Rose and her quest for her missing little brother. Um, and her little brother is living in some kind of dream world created by a couple of Morpheus escaped nightmares. And this dream world is very much an homage, a very clear homage to Winsor McCay's Little Nemo, which is a nice nod by Gaiman and Dringenberg. And this storyline um, starts to conclude on an issue um, about the serial convention, the, the collector's issue. And the serial convention is, in fact, a serial killer's convention, which is very much like comic conventions, or even very much like what we have going on YouTube, in a way. Uh, this is a obviously dark, but also a very entertaining issue and somewhat thought-provoking. In the middle of this volume, there is the seeds to another storyline in the issue where Morpheus meets a man who refuses to die, and they agree to meet every 100 years in a pub to share a glass and to have a conversation every 100 years, and they end up by developing a friendship. And I have no idea how important this immortal man character will be in the future, but in this issue we are all also introduced to William Shakespeare, who I know will be an important character in future issues. All in all, what have I thought of this volume 2? I hope this is not the best Sandman has to offer. I mean, this was a really good issue, but far from excellent. So I'm really expecting the story to keep developing in an interesting way, and Neil Gaiman's writing to become even better. In here, Gaiman's writing becomes much more simple than in Volume 1, which is excellent. Volume 1 was full of unnecessary flourishings in the writing, with Gaiman probably trying to show too much and to look too smart. But just like in food, simple comics are almost always the best. Just like in food, if it is prepared with care and good ingredients, nothing beats simple. And Gaiman is going that way, not necessarily on the plot, but in the style of writing. And this issue starts to be really thought-provoking. It starts to causing many philosophical questions to form, most of them still with absolutely no answer, but it drives the reader to think about the endless powers over humanity, the way the endless influence humans or other living beings, the way they may or may not interact with humans and between themselves, and what is the meaning of life? But it's really becoming very interesting. For instance, the serial killers, they are moved by desire, by in a way maybe destruction, even delirium, certainly by despair, or at least they are the bringers of despair and of death. But in which way are they influenced by dream? Apparently a lot, because dream ends up by punishing them in a way that shows his control over the serial killers. And that's something I still cannot understand about Morpheus. Is Morpheus the lord of sleeping dreams only, or is he also the lord of intellect, of art, of creation, of imagination? How related are the sleeping dreams and the unconscient to the conscient part of a living being? Those are some questions I expect to have a better idea about when I reach the end of this series. and that's why Sandman seems so promising, because I expect some answers to be delivered. In terms of the pending storylines, and so far it has been interesting in this volume to see some dots being connected. We start to have a glance at the web Gaiman is weaving, and we can also appreciate some seeds for new plots and for new storylines being placed in the story. But the storyline I'm looking forward the most right now is the story of Nada. Nada was the young, beautiful queen of the first city in the world, and she fell in love with Morpheus, but ended up realizing their love was impossible. A mortal could never be in love by an endless, and vice versa. So she ends up by refusing Morpheus' love, and out of spite and full of revenge, Morpheus ends up punishing her by sending her to hell. But this is only one version of the story. This is the version the tribesmen share between themselves. But we also learn that the tribeswomen, the tribeswomen, share a different version of this story among the women. And that's probably the most accurate version, because if there was a trait of Morpheus' personality that I could pick up from Volume 1, is that he can be revengeful, but he can also be very... let me find a good word for it. Benevolent to humans. He grants John Constantine a couple of wishes. He gives Constantine's ex-girlfriend a good departure, and he is extremely understanding and patient to John Dee, to Dr. Destiny, in the end of the first volume. And even though John Dee has committed such atrocities and tried to destroy the Master of Dreams, he can be very forgiving to him in a way. So the story between Morpheus and Nada seems to be very, very interesting. And I'm really looking forward to know more about that storyline. About the art in this volume, as I said, I think Dringenberg is doing a very nice job. And in here, there is also one issue with artwork by Chris Bachalo, and I think this is Bachalo's first professional work in comics. It's his debut. And his art here is very reminiscent of Sam Keith's first issues of Sandman, only it's better. It works really well, and I really like Bachalo's work here. And there's also an issue by Michael Zulli, the one with the Immortal Man and Shakespeare, and I'm not a big fan of Zulli's style, but at least I didn't feel it ruining the story. It's not great, but it serves the purpose well enough. So, I will move on to volume 3, which is very thin, containing just 4 or 5 issues, I think. So that will be a quick read. And then I'm looking forward to dive further into this Sandman series, which is looking very, very promising. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.